let's talk about you. You know this work, right, Gaya?
Yeah, this is what I wanted to say. So I met you during the intensive systemic constellation training conference that lasts for a week, and it was great. And I am also facilitating and doing systemic and family constellation. But it was the first time that I saw this kind of work, and it was mind blowing for me. I have to say, I really loved it from the beginning. And so yeah, I came and I've done myself also. I'll be able to tell exactly all the results because I'm taking a blood test next week. But I feel great, I have to say.
Okay.
And yeah, it was really nice to see how you work and how you take it, and it's amazing. So yeah, first maybe I don't know if people are familiar with systemic constellation here, but I guess yes. So maybe we can already start by understanding what are symptom constellation, and
Yes.
in what sense it is different from other kind of constellation work like systemic or family constellation.
Yeah. First, thank you, Gaya, that you're hosting this. I think it's great. Well, symptom constellations is really something special. And what does it? How is it different to family constellations? Family constellations are part of symptom constellations, but there are other parts in symptom constellations where you will be not finding in now a classic family constellation. And the really difference is that in symptom constellations, we start by the symptom or the disease, and whatever it is, this is the starting point. And of course, this is also a position in the constellation. And from there, we go towards the real energetic cause of that. And a family of origin is only one possible source of trouble on mental or physical symptoms and diseases. It is the most frequent background, but there are basically three other ones. And if you just look in the family of origin because you are trained to do this, then you might not really hit the point. So what I just name those three other major energetic backgrounds of trouble and problems, and the second one is the present family. The present family is defined as the members of the present family, you and your love partners, also the ones you separated or even
former one, yeah.
And sometimes even the future ones, and plus the children, your children, also the ones who may be not living, aborted or miscarriage children. This is another part. And the third part is also important. This is like a personal trauma of yours. Family of origin issues are somebody else experienced a trauma, another member of the family in a former generation. And in personal trauma, yourself, you are the one who experienced the trauma in this life, in childhood, or youth, or later. And some of those traumas we don't even remember. And they can still cause the presented problem in the constellation. And then there is a fourth background, and this is also not seldom. Like 20 to 30% of clients who come to me doing a symptom constellation have this one. And this is also personal trauma of yours, but not in this life, in a former life. And in a very early stage of the symptom constellation, I do a test. I call it.
I remember this actually. I remember this, and I wanted to ask. Maybe I don't know if people knows how you do it, but when we are working with symptom constellation, you use paper to take representative. You step on the different part that you want to show, like the symptoms, the message of the symptom, and also you're checking. I remember you were checking in which area the symptom were from, and I was like, yeah. And I have to admit that I'm using this now.
Yeah,
I'm doing it too.
yes.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm
I
teaching.
did one constellation. The first constellation I've done with you, I already like gained something on my own work, and it's working. I'm using this. It's so easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, so it is an easy test. If you're familiar and if you're facilitating constellations, it will be easy for you to do that. And it's only like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, then you know where this is coming from. Is it family of origin? Unresolved trauma in family of origin, unresolved trauma in personally with your children maybe, and unresolved trauma with your own, in your own life, and then unresolved trauma in a former life. And then then you know this, after this test, you know it. You don't have to search in the history of the family if it's a former life. You don't have to do that. No, this saves time and it saves energy. And then you go directly there. And this is a big difference. And often, of course, symptom constellation turn into a family constellation if it's from there. But the other ones are also pretty frequent. And there's a fifth one. I don't do that regularly because it's not so often in my clients now. It's a professional situation. So if with those four, if you don't find it, if there's no connection, you see that, then you say, okay, what about your profession? Is there anything in work? And then you have that.
Maybe we can just say also, maybe you can just enter this, like what kind of symptoms or disease or problem in life can be addressed with symptom constellation?
Well, it's easy to answer because there's no exemption. You can take anything. But the most frequent ones are like problems in life, like problems in partnership, problems with the children, problems in the profession, and then physical symptoms like pain somewhere, a rash, or physical diseases, cancer, heart disease. You can name it, everything.
Yeah.
Tooth
And you
problems.
can, do you need a lot of information, like, I mean, medically, like, yeah, you're asking most of the time if you have, if you can give it as much as possible information about it, even if after it's going somewhere else. Just you have also the knowledge to understand the medical part, which is very important.
Yes, of course, that makes it more easier. But you can do constellations with having like a decent knowledge about the human body. Of course, I know it to the very molecule there, and this helps, of course. Plus also mental disorders or depression or anxiety is frequent, or panic. And in people who work with healing work, there is a frequent issue that they would like to do healing work in some respect, and they already did trainings, so they would be able to do it, but they have a fear to show up in public with it. And they're very often, if somebody has that, this is then going back to a former life where you already did healing work and you or tortured or killed because of that. So this basic fear is then there and is hindering you to really do your profession, to really follow your calling in healing work. These are just examples, but there is no exemption, whatever it is. There's always, if you have a problem, that means there is information which you're not aware of. And with constellation, you open up to this informational field. Of course, this is the basis of all that. Mm-hmm. And if you get the information, then you have a better chance to, of course, know where it's coming from, and a better chance to find a healing movement or a solution.
Maybe it's time also to ask then, what are healing voices and why is it combined with the symptom constellation?
Healing voices, yeah. This is I mean, this is the other part why symptom constellation are different than like normal or classic constellations, because I combine this kind of constellation in the last phase when we know what the problem is, but it does not really solve all the way. There is still a burden in the air, some depression, some aggression, and we know where it's coming from, but it's not just knowing. It's not often not enough to really solve the problem. And then I combine shamanic healing work with the constellation. And the way I do it, I call it healing voices, because the voices and the sounds and the singing, and also sometimes really like speeches in ancient languages, they come through. And to understand what that is, healing voices, you have to know that all those shamanic healing energies are everywhere in the air, like all the information we get through classical constellation work. We talk about the feeling, now about the informational field or knowing field, and this field of the shamanic healing powers is also a field, and it's everywhere. I think it's also on the back of the moon. So it's also like a Wi-Fi field. It's there. It's everywhere. You cannot see it, but it's there. So there are strong healing powers around us, in us, but they, for some reason, and I cannot tell you why, they cannot be effective just by themselves. They need a yes and an agreement from the client. So you cannot do this with somebody who does not want that. The client has to open up, and the human being who is able and willing to be a channel for them, a medium for them. And what I do then in the constellation, I go into the constellation where everything is already set up, and we know where everything is coming from, but there's still healing needed, and I define this position as the position of the healers. And then I step into it as a representative. And from there, within me, I invite those healing voices. I have this also the same sentence. I invite all the female and male healers of all times to heal.
I'm very curious. I have so many questions to ask about this because I saw it.
Let me just finish this. And then I just follow from then on. I just followed the flow. So I just walk. I lend them really my body for a while, for a few minutes, because it goes through gestures, and I lend them my voice because it goes through sounds. And then I just like you learned from being a constellator, to just follow a movement, and you do this and trust it, and the results are extraordinary, astonishing. It is just they can do more than we humans. This is just like this is not human. It is going through us, but it's much stronger and much wiser than we. And what they can do and what they do is that they bring the souls of the ancestors, the souls of those who really had the experience, had the trauma, out of the frozen state of the trauma. And they can do that with victims. They do that with people who have a closed heart because they couldn't grieve. They bring them out of that state, and this is so healing. This is so wonderful, and therefore I'm doing that.
And what I saw also, that it's maybe no, but if people know constellation, maybe they already know, but it's not only healing for the person that is doing his own symptom constellation and healing voices. It's for all the people in the room, and maybe even further. This is what's amazing with healing voices. Everybody benefits from the healing voices when they hear it, right?
Yeah, that's the very astonishing thing. Then in addition to that the client gets and his or her ancestors get healing. There are people who are just in the group sitting there, or even online. And we saw that online. We have 50 or 100 people online on Zoom, and then they just experience healing voices done to another system, done to another person in the constellation. And then I get all those reports that people say, well, they opened up, and I invite them to do that if they want. I know already that this can happen if they open up, and they say, well, they had some healing sensations on the body level, on the mental level, an old problem, it's gone after that. So healing voices, the healing powers which work in healing voices don't stop there. Everybody who is in the room and everybody who is represented in the constellation. Even I work online, and I work with on the single to single situation in my practice with papers on the floor. So there are papers, placeholders for every position. But if they are represented with the paper, and of course I go from as a representative from one position to the next one. If this is represented, the healers work with it. But I have to represent it. If not, if something is, they cannot work with this one. So the healing is not complete. So there are cases where I say, why is that not all the way gone? Maybe we need somebody. There's somebody missing, and we put this one into the constellation, and then the healers start again. I do that again, and include this, and then the energy is much lighter later on. And they work obviously, with people who are just watching, even on the other side of the globe here on Zoom. And this is astonishing, but it is a repeating pattern. So whenever you are there, you will have the experience.
We can imagine how the weekend of the 12th and 13th of June can be healing if we do so many symptom and healing voices. And I will be there. I will be attending this. I'll be present. And maybe we can talk about the training. What are we going to learn and do? And I think I see people here that are already working on the constellation. People that I'm familiar. I met them. So maybe we can talk about the training itself.
Well, it is the next workshop we are doing on now in June, and you will also be there and host that, Gaya. It is exactly that work. So we will do symptom constellations. So you will experience symptom constellations and healing voices several times, and of course there is a lot of space for questions and sharing and talking about this. And it's like a master class. So if you are well informed, even if you don't facilitate already, it's also interesting and good for you. And this is a 2-day workshop. So this is in Zoom times it's a little challenging, but we have like a 4-hour thing, and always long breaks, and also a long lunch break then. And so we had exactly that during this Corona year now several times, and it works perfectly. And it also, and this was really nice to see, there's a group feeling coming. That you feel connected to people after this workshop.